All right, hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I thought I would turn on the camera since I'm sitting in front of my computer. But the live stream is not started yet. Of course, I'm having breakfast. I got my tea in front of me. I actually have some Gatorade in front of me as well. I've got some miniatures on the table. I don't have my desk camera set up. It's not ready to go. But we'll get that set up before 11 o'clock. Okay, so I started the stream early, mainly so that I could prepare, but you guys can sit with me and watch me eat my breakfast. I've got some cream of wheat right in front of me. And I've got a bunch of Brunswickers on my table that I'm going to be painting today. And I'm going to also show a few other things. But we'll talk about that at 11 o'clock. So from time to time, I'm going to kind of speak up here and basically just as people roll in, because they probably don't know exactly what's going on today. As people roll in, then what I'll do is, I'll give them a heads up. But primarily, this is going to be dead air for like almost an hour. If I get everything ready in 30 minutes, then we're actually going to start 30 minutes early. I've decided today I'm just going to start when I'm ready. All right, so I'm in the middle of breakfast, so don't think too much about that, or try not to think too much about that. I was laying in bed, awake, like for an hour, and I said, what the hell, let's just go ahead and get up and get started. Okay, I had to turn my headset volume because I'm watching a video, guys. It's actually a Mass Effect playthrough. I've been following a guy watching him play. But I don't need to watch his whole playthrough before we get started because I want to get these guys painted today. I've been working on them for a couple of days now, and I think I can probably finish painting them today and maybe base them and mount them and have them done by tomorrow. But we'll see. Yeah. I've been picking up some cream of wheat lately. I'm really starting to get back into it. When I was a kid, I had a lot of cream of wheat. But I see now that there's flavored cream of wheat. This one is maple brown sugar, I think. I think I like the banana one best. Yeah, I have 8 Brunswick battalions. Wow. And I'm doing them all at the same time. I'm basically testing my limits. And what's funny, or I should say another thing that's funny, and I really appreciate it, but I opened my stream today to activate it and, everything. And I noticed it already had 3 likes. And I haven't even recorded anything. That was weird. Welcome to the stream. We're just getting started. I'm starting early. Really, I'm not starting early. I'm recording early. Not really record. Well, I guess it is a recording because it does save to YouTube. But normally, I don't turn the camera on until 11 o'clock. Excuse me. And I'm kind of tired, actually, to be honest, because I stayed up pretty late last night. And then this morning, when my wife went to work, I woke up because like you do when someone gets out of bed. But then I could never wake back. I couldn't go back to sleep. I don't know what it was. I had a little upset stomach, It felt like I was maybe a little dehydrated or something. I don't know. So I took some Pepto and drank some Gatorade, and I feel much better right now. But yeah, that's probably what it was. It was probably just dehydration or something. But I couldn't go back to sleep. So I decided I'm just going to go ahead and turn the camera on early before the show actually starts, which it's going to start no later than 11 o'clock. It might actually start earlier. And what I'll do is, maybe in the description, after we get it all up and running and everything, in the description I'll say, oh, by the way, it doesn't start until, 30 minutes in, or something like that. So people that come in afterwards and watch the recording, they'll know where to go. And welcome to the stream. You're welcome. We're not started yet. I'm just kind of getting myself situated. I don't have a lot to do today. I was thinking that I would take some photographs of some units on the table, but my table is cluttered right now, so it's probably not going to happen. Plus, I've decided that I'm going to get one of those backdrops, like a railroad backdrop. I'm going to get one of those before I start making these photographs, just in case, just to give it that extra professional look in the background. I mean, I could crop it and then, or I could, green screen it or whatever, and then put other pictures behind. But I don't want to do that, because I have a tendency to lay out figures and models and stuff like that, and show them off. And I don't want to just have a black background. I want to have like a scenic background. All right, so we're not started yet. I know it's still early. Plus, I don't know if I might have to go, take a constitutional before the video or whatever. But I'm going to restart the intro, like right before we actually get started with the show. This is really just a preparatory time right now. Making sure everything's working and all that. And I did do a little bit of typing on my rules, but not. I really, to be honest, I don't feel comfortable sharing what I typed just yet. So. Okay. And I see people coming and going. Well, that's fine. Just know that we're not really ready to go. We won't be ready to go for another few more minutes, probably. How much closer can I get? Wow, I can get really close. Okay, right about there. Okay, cool. Let's activate that. Okay, that's too zoomed in, isn't it? I don't have the light on or anything yet either. Wait, what? Okay, that's not really zoomed in. Hang on. Ah, there it is. wonder if I think that'll work right there. Move that out of the way. Okay. Oh. Okay. Turn all that off. Okay. Bring the mic back. Let's take this off. All right, guys, while I clean up just a little bit, I'm going to put it back into the intro, and then I'll be back. Give me just a few more minutes. Grumbling in my stomach. All right, guys, there we go. I think that will do it. So, hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything. It is almost 10:30. We are starting about 30 minutes early. So, if you come in late, like at my normal scheduled time of 11 a.m., you will have not missed a whole lot. Let's just say that. Mainly because, okay, can I okay, that doesn't get in the way of anything. Perfect. Okay, so let me block that off. Yeah, I don't know if, let's bring up the advanced. Yeah, let's turn that off. Yeah, just the focus. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I have it still on 4K. I had turned on 4K for a previous video, and it might still be on that, so I don't know. And I'm not too worried about it. If it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. Okay, so as you can see on the table here, and a little bit of my cup. No, but as you can see here on my table, I've got the entire Brunswick contingent, pretty much. Switch my glasses. That's my computer glasses, and this is my painting glasses. Yeah, so, and I've got these labeled as light 1, 2, and 3, not in order. And then I have line 1, 2, and 3. These are the light and line battalions. And then I've got the Lieb battalion, the guard battalion. And then I've got the advanced guard battalion, the avant-garde. So the avant-garde, the guard, line 1, 2, and 3, and light 1, 2, and 3. Okay. They are well on their way to being finished. These are the colors I still have left to use on these figures to continue. I have so many colors that I don't necessarily know where to begin. You know, it's one of those where I probably shouldn't have pulled all these colors out, but I got them out because I wanted to be ready. Okay, so the metallics, they're going to go on later, or if not last, right? So let's not worry about those. This blue is going to be for the edge of the drum, which I could do right now. That would be no problem. This is the musket. This is going to be touch-up on the uniforms. Just so you know, I mean, it's obvious that I primed them black. But their uniforms are not black. Their uniforms are... actually, the uniforms are German tanker crew, which is almost a black. It's kind of a gray. And then I realized after painting the flesh, before I painted the flesh, actually, before I painted the flesh, I realized that the helmets, I was going to just leave them black primer, but the underside, the lips, like there's like a ring around the top of the shako, underneath that was still metal. The primer had not gotten there. So I figured I would go touch them up. But again, I don't like using black. Excuse me. Talking with a dry throat. Yeah, that's how it is. So I got a scratchy throat. So I figured I would go ahead and use the tanker uniform on the Shako, but then I said, let's not do that. Let's use this dark gray. So I'm using dark gray. You can tell it looks, and to me, this dark gray and this tanker crew and this other one, this black gray, they're all so close together. They're almost like they're the same color. They're not black. They're like black gray. And I always thought that German gray, which is a color I've had for a few years now, that ain't it. Yeah, I always thought that German gray was a good dark gray. Well, guess what? It's not. These black gray, tank crew, dark gray, those are way darker than this German gray. This, if I was to brush this on, it would look way too gray, if that makes sense. So what I plan to use is, after I get them all finished and washed and all that, I plan to go over it with German gray on specific highlights. I'm actually going to highlight with German gray. To me, that's weird, but it's going to happen. So I have this dark gray out because when I did the flesh, I got some of the flesh on the Shakos. I got some of the flesh on the collars and the cuffs. So I was going to use dark gray to go back in and touch everything up. But I'm not going to do that until, I might not ever do that. I might just use the German gray when I go to do the highlights. I might just fix any things that are screwy or wacky. So I'm just going to put that away. All right, so another thing that I'm doing a little bit differently. The straps on a Brunswick soldier is not black. It's probably, it's brown for one thing, but it could very easily be black brown. Okay, it could very easily be the super dark brown. I painted the artillery, the Brunswick artillery I just finished. I painted those with this dark brown straps. Maybe not the dark brown. Maybe I did. I don't remember. But it was, I remember that I painted it with like a soup. Maybe not this one. I might have used the, okay, I want you to see something. Both of these are the same color. Both of these are labeled the same color. German camo black brown is what I've had for years, and that might be why it looks more brown than black. But this black brown looks more black than brown. I think the mixture, when it was made, they didn't have the same formula, or one was a mistake and the other one was, and maybe this is a correct and this is not black or whatever. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. I knew I was getting low on this one, that's why I ordered that one, and then I realized, damn, that one's almost like jet black. I think I painted the artillery pieces with this black brown. You can't even tell. those artillery piece straps, the crew members, their straps, it's like, why even bother? Just leave it black. Maybe dry brush a little bit of gray on there or something to make those straps pop out. You don't really need to paint that. And the straps are pretty close to black. I mean, they really are. So by painting that is accurate, but extra effort that you don't need to do, in my opinion. So I decided I'm going to break from tradition, and I'm going to lighten the brown up just slightly. Not use the black brown, but just use a dark brown, maybe, and I've already decided, chocolate brown. I've decided to use chocolate brown as opposed to the black brown. I don't know if you can really tell the difference. This is the chocolate. Because I wanted the straps to stand out more. Right? Now, I could go even lighter, you know, maybe just a flat brown. I thought about just a flat brown, but the chocolate brown is just a little bit darker than flat brown, and it's not that much of a difference. But with this, and then also on top of that with the wash, it should make it the right color, but it won't. It'll be obvious. And I know this is going to be a time-consuming color because I'm going to do it on everybody's straps. And this is almost 200 models right here. 24 times 8. It's a lot of freaking figures, right? Okay. Of course, the beige brown is going to be the muskets, which, you know, it's a kind of a major difference. In the past, I would use things like wood brown, you know, but this wood brown specifically is too red. I even tried like burnt sienna and other colors, blood track. I even used like colors like this bloodstone, you know, because it's a pretty cool wood looking color, but it's not accurate. It's too red. It needs to be more pine. I know they're not actually pine stocks, but I needed it to be more pine or more birch or whatever that brown color is. So I'm going with the beige brown for that. Okay. That's not going to be too terrible because that's just muskets. The straps I feel are going to be time consuming. And then the rest of these colors are all collars and cuffs. Each color goes on a different battalion, so that's not like I have 100 of these colors to do on everybody. There's 7 colors here. The 7 colors, I think green is actually on 2 of the battalions. But other than that, every battalion gets 1 color on their, and it's mostly just collars, because the cuffs on most of these are just black. 1 or 2 of these have, I think the Avant-Garde has colored cuffs. There's no turnbacks, so I don't have to worry about any of that. Yeah, I think we're good. So, yeah, okay. And this is apple tea. It's still stash, but it's the apple. Slurp, slurp. I went ahead and ordered a second set of brushes. You know, my Transcend Arts brushes. You already know, right? I had an 8 brush set before, and now I have like a 10 set. So with them all together, I've got like 18 brushes or something like that. And these brushes, the first set, lasted over a year, and they all still have super fine tips. So I'm excited about that. All right. All right, now before I get into starting on these Brunswick, I just want to kind of briefly go over what I've already done. Now you've already seen this Panzer Grenadier with a top hat. This is a figure from a set. I was given this one figure as a promotional figure, but this figure, what is a company called Offensive Miniatures, makes a line of miniatures for this comic book or graphic novel. And I don't know anything about that graphic novel. I have a feeling it's either a German or a British graphic novel, and I have never read it. Not really that interested in reading it, but he's a pretty cool Panzer Grenadier. He's wearing a top hat, he's got a monocle, and he's got his helmet hanging off of his belt. But other than that, he's your traditional Panzer Grenadier. So I'm going to put him up for sale on the channel. He's 28 millimeter, you know. It looks pretty cool. But I spent way too much time on that guy, so I put a lot of effort into that. Now, I'm going to just set him out of the way. There is a couple of units right here that I finished recently. These 2 units like these, are why I love painting Napoleonics. Because Napoleonic figures or units are so diverse in their uniform styles, patterns, colors, color combinations, specifically cavalry. Infantry, not so much. Infantry are pretty much uniform across the board. But when it comes to the cavalry, it's like every regiment has their own distinct look. And I love that. I love the hell out of that. Now, both of these are Dutch-Belgian. They're both, well, one's Belgian, one's Dutch. This is the 5th Belgian Light Dragoons, right? And this is the 6th Dutch Hussars. Yeah, 6 Dutch Hussars. Yeah. So I do plan to do a Napoleonic update and show these off. So don't worry, you will get a close-up and a spin and all that stuff. But I love their looks. Mainly because they're unique. They're different. They're weird, you know. I know what you say is like all hussars look the same. Well, that's not true. Mainly because of the colors. Okay, another thing before we get started. I ordered more of my double-sided tape, right? I use 3M double-sided foam tape and I cut it to size, stick it on a popsicle stick, and then I stick the figure on the foam tape, so when I pick up the popsicle stick to paint, I'm painting like 6 guys at one time, and then when I'm done, I just peel them off of the foam tape. I used to use Elmer's, but now I use the foam tape, mainly because of the time saving. Not the money, because Elmer's is way cheaper. You know, I can buy a gallon of Elmer's for what one of these rolls cost. But the time that I save is worth more money than the amount that I'm, the difference that I'm paying for the tape. Okay, and as you can see, I was getting pretty low. This is a 20 millimeter 3/4 inch, 20 millimeter width, right? And what I would do is I would cut once I start cutting them per figure, I would split them down the middle, and I would make these 10 millimeter squares. And then I would put these 15 millimeter figures on these 10 millimeter squares. If it's cavalry, I would just use the whole length, but I would just cut like a 10 millimeter strip. And then if it's a 28 millimeter model or something like that, then I would probably cut about 15 millimeters, length, and then stick a 28 millimeter model on there. Now you could, if you use a lot of medicine bottles or whatever, put a little piece of tape there and then stick a giant figure like a Warhammer figure or something like that on there. That'll work, and then you can peel your Warhammer figure. You can use it multiple times if the figure's base is bigger than the amount of tape you use. But that's usually never the case because I'm always cutting it down as small as I can. Okay, so my point is, I was getting low on the tape, so I ordered another roll, right? Okay, this is 5 yards. So I figure, I thought that said, play with your penis. It says, play pens. Okay. I was like, what the hell is that saying? The bag is not a toy. Of course not. Okay, so this is 5 yards, 20 millimeters wide, right? And this comes out to like $7. I think that's right. And if I split it in half, which I always do pretty much, it's basically 10 yards. Okay. 10 yards, $7. Let's just say $1 a yard. Because it might have been $9.99. Let's just say $1 a yard. And then I saw this. I don't know if you can see that. That 3M half-inch. So this is half-inch or 12 millimeter by 36 yards. 36 yards. But because it's half-inch, I was thinking to myself, I don't have to split it in half. I can just leave it as 12 millimeters and just cut. So effectively, it will wind up being 36 yards. Is it $36? No, it's like $9, $14. I think it was $14. So $14 for 36 yards is almost 1/3 the cost of that one, right? Almost 1/3 the cost. So like less than 50 cents a yard, or less than 50 cents a yard, or something like that. So that's what these guys are. These guys are mounted using this roll. I've already used probably a yard. I don't know, 200 figures by 10 millimeter. You figure it out. What's funny is, and this is another anecdotal, I'm probably not ever going to do that again. I split this in half just to see how far I could get it to go. And that's what all of these are mounted on. They're mounted on about 6 millimeters by 10 millimeters. It's crazy. But it's, even if I didn't split it, if I just used it as a 12 millimeter piece, I would have 3 times as much. So I'm always going to order that 36 yard roll, half inch. It can be a half inch, that's fine. Half inch will work with a 28 millimeter miniature as well. So there. Okay, so that is the figures that I will be doing a video, a Napoleonic update. I did do this guy. I don't know what his name is. He has a name in the comic book. And when I post it, I'll post it by his name. I'll actually look it up on their website. But yeah, it's got a ton of details on it. It's really fun to paint. And yeah, I like him. Okay. I wish I could keep him for my own German army, but I'm basically not doing 28 millimeters right now. I'm doing a lot of 15s, so I'm going to sell him. All right, so I didn't really want to get into this because I know it's going to be a pain in the patootie, but I need to get these guys done. Okay, we're going to do the light blue. We're going to do the blue, not the light blue. Light blue's over here. We're going to do this Sigmar blue highlight for the drum edges. Now, something what's the word? I'm not upset. That's too strong of a word. I'm disappointed. Let's say that. That's what your dad says, right? He says, "I'm disappointed in you." Well, I'm disappointed in Old Glory. Old Glory, I love them. They do a lot of great miniatures, medievals, ancients, Marlborough, English Civil War, whatever you play, you could get it with Old Glory. The problem that I ran into with these freaks right here is they put standard bearers in every one of their bags except for the avant-garde. Okay, you can't see this. That's terrible. I don't want to paint like over here, mainly because that should be okay. I don't want to paint over here because then I'd be out of position. I have to be able to see what I'm doing. They put a standard bearer in all the units. Like this one. This is a Liebguard. And the Liebguard has a standard bearer. Not two. Just one. Now, I have another Liebguard standard bearer that I could have used. But the Liebguard, Lifeguard, are not supposed to have a standard bearer. They're actually kind of set up like a light battalion. Another thing, they give me a drummer. What the heck's going on with you, Old Glory? They're supposed to have a bugler. I think they're supposed to have a bugler. But they gave me a drummer and a standard bearer. With the Liebgard Shako. So, I put them in the battalion. I'm going to be painting them up. And I have a standard that came with the Fighting 15 Brunswick contingent standards. That is a hypothetical. I'm going to use it. I'm going to give it to the Liebgard. I decided this maybe a night ago. In addition to that, the light battalions, the ones I'm painting right here, the front three are my light battalions. They gave them drummers as well. And two standard bearers. And they should not have any standards. So there are no standards for light battalions on the market because they don't carry them. So Old Glory should not have given them standard bearers. After looking at the bag contents for the light and the line, I compared the bag contents. The only difference, because the line also has drummers and standard bearers, the only difference between the bags were some, not even all, some of the poses. The uniforms are all exactly the same. So the only difference was a couple of different like running poses. So what I did, now remember, you get about 2 battalions in a bag. So I bought a line and a light bag. Which gives me a line and a light, but I needed a third bag to be both line and light. And I realized, oh, it's okay, because they all have exactly the same uniform. So what I did was I bought 2 line bags and 1 light bag, I think is correct. And then I went through all the poses and balanced it out. So every battalion out here has very similar poses. But unfortunately, that gives me standard bearers for the light units. Now, the standard bearers have different poses. Some are choked up on the standard pole, which makes it very short, like that guy. And I decided to use those guys in the light units because I'm not going to be putting flags on them. They're just going to be carrying the pole. You know, kind of like an NCO and the British carrying a halberd or a pike or whatever they call it. Now later down the road, if I wanted to like hand make a Brunswick flag or something like that, I could always add that to the light units. Flags always make units look better. Oh, you can hear the lawnmower next door. Okay. Well, if you can't, I can. My neighbor is mowing his lawn. So I've got this potential customer. He wrote me back in September, hey, I have some Italians. Can I send them? Will you paint them? And I told him at the time, yes, but it is first come, first serve. So I would gladly paint them for you. Here's my prices. You know, and then there was no response. No, like, okay, that sounds good. I'm going to send them. What's the address? None of that. And then just a night or two ago, I get another message. Hey, would you mind painting some Italians? And I'm like, not realizing it's the same guy. I was like, yeah, of course. You know, we have a queue. First come, first serve. And here's my prices and all that, right? And then when I went to save his message, I was like, that's the same name as this other guy. And I checked the other name, the other post. It was exactly the same thing. Almost like a form letter. Or I should say, almost like someone trying to trick me into saying something like, yeah, email me here off site, and so we can make a deal, you know, where we can avoid having to pay eBay. Like it was a trap. Or maybe it's automated. Or maybe he just forgot that he already sent that message. Or he didn't realize that I had replied to his original message. I don't know. I'm not a mind reader. Okay, now it sounds like he's doing edge trimming. He might have a service. Because I think they're selling that house. So he might have like the realtor probably comes in and cleans up the yard and updates any signage or whatever they need to do. Okay. They don't have a standard or a drummer. Like they are not supposed to. Now these line battalions, they should have 2 standard bearers because they carry 2 different flags. Now I've got some 28 millimeter Prussians. I got them from Old Glory because they do 28s as well. But I was curious to see what you get in a bag of their 28 millimeter. They're like, what do they call it? Like a regimental bag or something like that. It comes with like over 40 miniatures, I think. So I got these, and I've been thinking about painting them for the store because I'm getting low on 28 millimeter Napoleonics. I think I've only got like 6 units left out of a couple of 100 units that I had earlier. But I don't think I have any Prussian flags. I might. If I dig deep, I might, but I don't think so. I don't think I have any Prussian flags. And I don't think I want to order a Prussian flag, from GMB or somewhere else, War Flag or whoever, just that I'm going to sell. If I was planning on using it for my own personal collection, of course. So what I thought was I would paint them up, leave the flags off. And this might be a better, outcome anyway, because if you're trying to collect a Prussian army, you probably know which battalions you need and which regiments you need or whatever. And you could get your own flag and put it on there. That way the Prussians, I do believe, have regimental colors a lot like the British. Like white or red or green or blue or whatever as their collars and cuffs. So I would need to pick one of those when painting them. But at least that'll keep the buyer's option open, because a lot of regiments duplicated the colors. So like if I used white, maybe there's 4 or 5 different battalions that use white. I'm just thinking out loud. I've been thinking about it. It's real. One reason why I haven't done it was I didn't know if I want to order a flag, make a unit specific, or paint them with a specific color. Okay, another thing. As you know, I need some limbers for my allies. Brunswick, Dutch Belgian allies. And Old Glory doesn't sell those. So I went to Minifigs and I saw that they sell riders and drivers for a bunch of different nations. So I ordered some. I also noticed that they had Brunswick officers. And as you know, I'm short 2 Brunswick Generals. So I ordered them. Okay, their website, it's Cavalier Books, if you're interested. Their website, Cavalier Books, has an option to pay via PayPal, right? I know PayPal's been in the news lately and there's a lot of problems and stuff like that. But I still use them just for convenience. And this company accepts PayPal. So I pay. This was like on the 6th. I don't know what day that was. Thursday, Friday, something like that. On the 7th, Cavalier Books sends me an email. Did I overlook your payment? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if you've overlooked it. But what I did was I went to PayPal and I took a screenshot and I sent it to him saying, here you go. This is where I paid. Which the transaction ID should be on there, so they should be able to go look it up to verify that I did actually pay. So it's just a little bit of a delay because I didn't do that until last night because I didn't notice their request, and which they did it on the 7th, which is like right after I ordered it. So that's my fault for waiting 4 days before I read that email. But that should get them kick-started to send me my artillery drivers, riders, and generals. I think I ordered a couple other figures too, but I don't remember what I ordered. I don't need the limbers because I already have a bunch of limbers still in the bag. It's just that they have like British crew, and I need Brunswick and Dutch Belgian. So I'm waiting. Oh wait, I ordered something else too. Yeah, rocket artillery. I think I ordered some rocket artillery. Maybe a 9-pounder. I don't remember. Maybe. I don't really need it. I know I ordered the rocket artillery, but I don't remember. Okay. This is the most time consuming part of painting these guys. Now, this should go pretty quickly because I'm only doing cross straps in the front of every figure. Cross straps. Give this a shake. Okay, I see nobody's chatting with me yet. That's perfectly fine. All right, guys. Hey, if you're watching, understand that we normally start at 11 a.m. Central Time. I decided to start a little early today because I wanted to get these done. And I'm going to have these guys painted by tonight. That's a guarantee. And they probably will not be based tonight. I'm going to try to base them tonight, but I have a feeling that I won't because I have a D&D game tonight which goes from 7 to 11. And yeah. So if I don't get these guys done by 7, well, I probably can. I can probably get these done by 7 if I work all through the rest of the day. The basing will probably be after my D&D game. Maybe. Okay. And texturing and then flocking is not going to be till tomorrow. That's for sure. Is this going to work? It is. Okay. Might be too narrow. Want something a little bit thicker. So I'm going to pull out my O. Yep. Okay, I'm stirring my chocolate brown with a little bit of the matte medium and water to kind of just give it a nice flow off the brush onto the figures. Still kind of thick. It's a little too thick. Okay. drop a couple of drops of water on there. Don't want it too thin, don't want it runny, right? And you don't want it so thin that it becomes like a blend medium. You want it to be thick enough that it covers. But this dark chocolate brown, actually it's just chocolate brown, it's not dark chocolate, on top of the black should cover pretty good. Okay, now these guys have satchels and bayonets. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the trench coats. Man, I forgot so many colors. Okay, well, we'll figure it out. Okay, because these guys have a greatcoat over their shoulder that pretty much covers one of the two cross straps. Okay. Totally forgot about the greatcoats. There's a few other figures out here that have greatcoats. Some of them are rolled up on the back of their backpacks, so, you know, like the French. Okay, so you can only see one strap. Okay. Now some of these guys, if I painted their hair by accident gray, I'm going to touch it with some brown. Like that first guy. And this guy. So that'll give a variety of hair colors. Most of them are just going to have black hair. Right, now, I don't really like talking when I'm really trying to think, or focus, I should say, when I'm trying to focus exactly on what I'm painting. I have a hard time. Whoop. Let's come back to him. That's the musician. These guys have those weird Australian Jaeger helmets, or Shakos, I should say. You know, with the folded up sides. That's another thing. Where is that color? I'm going to keep that one out as well. That's going to be for the bayonet case. The sheath. And I really should grab another color for their haversack. Wait, hair. Nope, their hairs all look good. Okay. Okay, so on that lighter gray, the Avant-Garde is split into 4 companies, and 2 companies are the light gray Jaegers, and 2 companies are the dark black. Is that a... Yes, it is. Okay. Does that stand out? Well, it's better than nothing. Let's just say that. Brown might not be light enough. It's not supposed to be light, it's supposed to be dark. So this is actually a good color. I just want people to be able to see my work, you know? I want them to tell, hey, that guy actually painted the straps. They're just not black. Which, nothing on this uniform is actually black. It's all dark gray. I did prime it black, but that doesn't count. It sounded like somebody dropped something off at the front door. I don't think my Old Glory order... FYI, I did order some stuff from Old Glory as well. Not just Cavalier minifigs. What did I order? I ordered some British artillery. The foot artillery, if you remember. I needed another bag of that. You know, after I put the order in, I realized, you know, I probably could have ordered a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Just to flesh out the rest of my army or whatever. The sale might still be going on. They had like a 20% discount on all their 15mm Napoleonics. I don't know what color this satchel is. It's probably like a beige color. I might have to do a little bit of research on that. Before I commit to painting these satchels. When I got this officer, and I cleaned him up and, you know, washed with soap and water and all that, I thought he was holding a musket at a low carry. The drag carry, or whatever they call it. But it's actually his sword. Because once I started cleaning everything up and cleaning all the extra flash and stuff off, I was like, oh, this isn't a musket. He's carrying a sword. Yeah, I had Alexa ask me today, hey, did you want to put another order in for X, Y, and Z? And I was like, I just got that in. I don't need to order it. It was based on your purchase history. And I was like, no. And she goes, well, if you want to, just ask me. I'm like, man, she's persistent. Dang. I don't know if you guys ever watch Steven Crowder. He's a comedian that makes jokes about politics, right? And current events. And I discovered him many moons ago when I first got my first Alexa. Actually, my only Alexa. It's the same one that I've had forever. I was kind of doing like a little YouTube research on the Alexa, and I came across a video where he's sitting with a friend, I don't remember who, and they've got the Alexa between them, and he asks it a couple of questions to hear the response, right? And he was basically saying, here we go, this is going to be funny, you know, take a listen. And his first question was, who was Mohammed? The religious figure, Muslims and all that. And it gave a, you know, Alexa came on and gave a fairly detailed explanation of who Muhammad was. And I was like, okay, that's pretty good. And then he comes around and he says, who was Jesus Christ? And Alexa said, a fictional character. And that was the response. But again, remember, this was early days of Alexa. It didn't really have a lot of machine learning at the time. And I was like, oh, fictional character. Okay, doing cross straps. Taking forever. But at least they're not white. Like pretty much every other nation. The reason why that's important is because white really stands out. And so if you make a mistake, it's pretty obvious. Where this brown, once I do my wash, these little minor millimeter mistakes are going to disappear. Plus, it's almost black anyway, so it's like almost impossible to see. Yep, no back straps. Just the two crosses in the front. Now this is a Lieb battalion. So I can't base these figures on these because those are all the same. Light and line. I just realized on that one I got a little bit on his collar, but guess what? I'm going to be coloring his collar, so that's going to fix it. Now, the Brunswickers have these coats that have cords on the front of them that crisscross, right? The cord is the same color as the fabric, but there are these little buttons or pins, buttons that are a little bit more silvery gray, so it makes it look like the cords are a silvery gray. I did go through and dry brush every one of these models with a gray across their chest. I know the cords are not supposed to be gray, only the buttons. But that's okay. I don't care. It'll make it stand out. And even then it really doesn't stand out that much. Well, for one thing, the brown here is over the straps, which is where most of the dry brush stuck to. But I wanted you to be able to tell that they had cords on their chest. Okay, these avant-garde guys are actually going pretty quick. I'm almost done. Okay, this officer, his sword should be tied to his belt. With one of those brown sword straps. But again, you'll probably never see it. Sounds like somebody's moving around in there, and I know that's not the case. Okay, these officers don't have cross straps. Hey! You have a short day today?
Yeah, only one student showed up and out of 4, and she left early.
Oh, wow. Okay, that looks done. Again, remember the sword straps is that dark brown. All their straps, even their slings on their rifles should be the dark brown. Yep, the officers don't have cross straps. The drummers, they have quite a few. Because they've got like that strap that holds the drum. And it's pretty visible on the drummer, their backpack straps, so I'm going to go ahead and paint those too. Okay. Now I'm not painting the slings, so I'm going to do that after I paint the weapons. Going to be one of the last things I do. So that'll be another brown mixture, because this brown will probably be dry by the time I get to the slings. Now she opened the door to let air in. She left it open, but I think it's actually hotter outside than it is in here. So I'm starting to feel the heat. Normally in October is when it starts to cool off here in Tennessee. And at night it does. It actually cools off at night. But in the daytime it's still hot. Or, I don't think it's hot. I think it's comfortable. See, I'm painting this brown. It's so dark on the black that I feel like it's a wasted effort. It's like, why bother? You can barely see it. You know, I'm all about the results. If I lightened the brown up, another, shade, then it might be too light and it might look fake. So I'm just going to have to deal with it. Okay. So my point about the flocking and the basing and all that, the reason why I brought it up, you're not going to see a video where these are finished for probably 2 or 3 days. Probably. I still think the paint's a little bit too thick. I might go in and add another drop of water or two. Now there was something that I used to teach painting, like miniature painting. Believe it or not, I actually had a class that I taught, and I taught people how to paint miniature figures. And I even had an ad in one of these like coupon books where you'd get like a free painting session, and then hopefully you would, come back after that. But what I'm trying to get at is I would also teach like friends for free. I'd be like, hey, let me show you how to paint. Let me show you this. And one of the things that I had told everyone was that when you're painting smaller figures, it becomes easier. It's easier to paint a smaller figure. So imagine a 2mm French Napoleonic figure. How much paint would be needed to paint a 2mm Napoleonic figure? Almost none, right? I mean, and so what are you actually trying to accomplish by painting a 2mm figure? I'm using that as an exaggeration, right? I'm like, well, you're not trying to get eyeballs. You're not even probably trying to get collars and cuffs. You're just trying to get the main colors, like maybe pants and jackets, shakos, maybe some flesh. And that's it. Now when you step it up to like 40 millimeter, right? I'm exaggerating again. If you try to paint a 40 millimeter miniature, what are you trying to get at that time? Well, you're trying to get whiskers, skin tone, freckles, eyelids, you know, like eyebrows. That makes it way harder to paint. So, if you're building an army in 15 millimeter, you should be able to paint it way easier than if you're trying to paint a 28 millimeter army. Because you're not going for the same level of detail. It kind of opened everybody's eyes, you know. They're all like, you know, you're right, because I always thought the bigger the model was, the easier it was to paint. And it's actually the opposite. Yes, the areas that you're painting are smaller, but that just makes it easier. So what I'm trying to say is, I've got these Brunswickers here, and I'm not trying to get every single little detail. I'm just trying to put color in certain areas to make that area stand out. I'm actually surprised I've gotten this far already. This stand right here will be halfway. So like this figure here, this is an example. He's standing there puffing his chest out. And all I'm doing is hitting the cross straps with brown. I'm not trying to get every single little button and detail. I'm not a uniform Nazi. I just want my model to look good on the table at arm's length. That's another thing. You paint for arm's length. You don't paint for a museum. Unless, of course, you're not a wargamer. If you're like a collector, yeah, you might use a little magnifying glass and get in there. But usually, if you're painting 15 millimeter, you're a wargamer. And if you're painting 40 millimeter, then you're probably a collector. I'm just saying. But I personally cannot get behind 2 millimeter gaming. I can't do it. To me, that's the exact same thing as playing a board game. You like have a flat counter and you're moving it around on a map. Because 2 millimeter is still flat. 6 millimeter, you're starting to get into 3 dimensions. And that's a good scale for long range fighting, like tanks. .28 millimeter is good for close range fighting, like infantry in a city or a town. And 15 millimeter is the best of both worlds. Okay, my eyes started to go blurry there for a second. Sometimes it's hard to see when your model is primed black. That's why recently I've been priming either gray or white. So that I can see what I'm doing. But black tends to blend the shadows. So I watched the show Resident Alien. It's based on a graphic novel. It's funny as hell. I really like the show. So there's this character in the show He plays, or the character is, the sheriff of this town. The town's called Patience, Colorado. I don't know if it's a fictional town or not. I never really looked it up. But he's the sheriff. And he is... he's extra. He's funny. Seems to be a good dude, but I don't know what to say about him. Oh, really? Okay. Never see it anyway. Right? You won't see those straps. Sorry, I got distracted. I was just like, oh, yeah. Mainly because there's another show I saw on TV the other day, and he was in it. And they're both, like, active. So either they're twin brothers, or I'm mistaken, which is possible. Or he's doing two shows at once. And he's a cop in both of them. One is like a serious police drama, and the other one's like a comedy. But I haven't seen Resident Alien in a couple of weeks now, so maybe the season is over. But I've noticed they don't release them like on a weekly. My finger slipped. That's alright. It looks good. That's another reason when I paint like this, I have both hands, and I try to get both of my hands to interlock with each other so that if one shifts, they both shift. It's a stabilization technique. Because if I tried to paint like this, the one would go shift this way, another one would shift this way, and I would be all over the place. But when I connect them, then they shift together. That was also part of my painting class. A lot of times I would brace it on the table too, because of the table would be like a stabilization. Then neither of them would shake. But as long as they're both together, it's okay. Because then if one shakes, they both shake, and there's no issues. It's just that when one of my hands slides off the other hand, then there's an issue. if that makes sense. L2. Okay. 3 battalions left. Here we go. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot to talk about. Marshals and Generals, right? I'm working on that. It's my rule set for Napoleonics. I have pretty much 99% of it worked out. But just putting it to paper, typing it up, that's the hard part. And I want to type it up in a way that anybody that picks up a copy would be able to play. You know, not just me. So I was thinking about taking pictures of units in various formations, and then like inputting those into my rules as examples. So I'm thinking about doing that. Well, I'm not thinking about it. I am going to do that. I just haven't. Blurry eyes. Okay. Yeah, I've decided I'm going to do a dice pool. Okay, I just realized the way I said it was hard to understand. I am doing a dice pool, but I'm also doing a dice pull. So POOL for the number of dice to roll, and then PULL for turn order. Because I really like the randomness of pulling dice out of a bag to determine which battalions get to move. I really like that idea. But because we're not playing like just with a couple of battalions on the table, we're playing with a whole corps on the table. We're going to be pulling per brigade. Now I considered rolling a dice to determine how many units in the brigade get to act when that brigade gets activated, but I've decided to allow all of them. No die roll needed. One of the reasons is I'm trying to speed the game up. I don't want to slow it down. I don't want to make extra die rolls that are not necessary. Shooting is going to be pretty straightforward. You get a number of dice based on number of bases you have, shooting, and you're looking for a target number. That target number is set by your own unit and its ability. So a more elite unit will have a lower target number. Things like cover will affect how many dice are rolled by the shooter. And then successes will cause casualties, which are not real. They are hits or disruption points or pips or whatever you want to call them. But I'm calling them hits. Hits are marked on the figures and they build up. And when you get to a certain number of hits, you make morale checks. Or you become eliminated. And that's it. There's nothing strange about that. You just get eliminated. I don't want units routing and rallying. That's outside the scope of the game. It's like, yes, the unit that's eliminated is not technically eliminated. It's probably routing to somewhere in the rear. And there might be officers back there stopping them and rallying them. But that's not part of the game. Okay, so that's shooting. Now melee is the one that I really have been struggling with, but it's pretty much the same thing. You have to make a morale check to be allowed to close in to base contact. That is a test, bravery test is what I think I'm going to be calling it. Or I might just call it something simple like a charge test. Because then it'll be specific, like you know why you're making the roll. It's a to charge. If you pass, then you are permitted to move into base-to-base contact. If you fail, I think I'm going to say they can shoot instead. But I'm also thinking that they can't. So instead of becoming disordered, which is where I was heading, disordered units can use one of their two movements to become undisordered during your turn. So at that point, I would say he's going to charge, roll the dice, failure, you become disordered, but you still have one of your movements left, and you just take the disorder off. So it basically just ends the turn. That's what I was thinking. And then if you're cavalry and you succeed in blowing through an enemy unit, you get to make that charge test again to see if you can charge into someone new. If you fail, you stop. Right? Just like everybody else. But if you succeed, you charge into another unit and repeat the process. And I was thinking, every subsequent charge test gets a minus. So the more you do it, the bigger the minus. Eventually, you're going to fail. Just because of the numbers. So let's say your charge test is a 6+. I'm just pulling that number out of my hat. And you get a -2 on every subsequent charge test. Right? So you roll a 6+, you succeed, you charge, you destroy. Now, you're rolling again, you're rolling for an 8. Right? 6 + 2. And then you succeed, you charge in, you crush the enemy, you roll again. Now this time you're looking for a 10+. It's possible. He gets it, and then he continues on. Now the next one would be a 12+, which is impossible. Unless for some reason I work out that there's modifiers. But I don't know how much of that I want to do. I don't really want to do modifiers. I want to do numbers of dice. But when it comes to morale, it's always just one die. So that has to have modifiers, in my opinion. So there will be modifiers for morale rolls, like charge tests, because that's all going to come off of morale. So the way the individual brigade is going to work is the ones that are going to move will move. The ones that are going to shoot will then shoot. And then if there is anybody left in base-to-base contact with that brigade, then you will roll melee. So what that kind of prevents is shooting a unit and then moving into contact. But I'm not sure if I want that. I think I want some shooting before contact. but not by the unit that's charging. Because I would assume that that's all incorporated into the die roll for the melee. That assumes that, well, their melee modifier or their melee stat will be based on their ability to shoot as they close in. So that's already going to be baked in to the modifiers or the dice. And I think I'm going to bake it into the defender as well. Because there's no need to, I'm going to shoot you as you close in, die. No. It's just part of your, it's just built into your melee. Why do you need to have a second roll? That's for people that just like to roll dice. They just need to understand that that's all baked in. And as a corps commander, you will never tell a battalion when to shoot. It'll all be baked. One reason why, it'll just make it faster. There won't be all these extra die rolls that are unnecessary. Now, I understand the need for, I'm going to shoot a unit as it's closing in. That will cause it to stop and not be able to close in. Well, to me, the stopping and not closing in is all still part of the melee. Oh wow, I skipped one. Right there where my thumb's at. So you can say that if you got a really good result on your melee, you can say that maybe you got a bunch of shots in before they closed. You know, you can justify it however you want. But that's what I'm going to do in the rules. I'm going to try to explain it off as all of this is happening and you roll the dice. You don't need to visualize each and every single portion of the melee. All right, now melee results. I think I talked about this a while back. I just haven't put it to paper. That's the problem. I keep putting this off. But I pretty much have it set in stone in my head. I do casualties. Well, no, we roll dice. We compare them. Is that true? No, that's not true. I have a melee value that I'm trying to exceed to get hits. You have a melee value you're trying to exceed to get hits. We both roll a number of dice based on the situation, bases, formation, cover, charge, lance, bayonet, whatever the situation is. We'll give you a certain number of dice. You roll it, you get a total number of hits. Both sides receive the full number of hits. Whoever receives more hits gets a minus on their morale check. Whoever did more hits gets a plus on their morale check. So you get to use the difference as a plus or minus modifier. You both have to roll. The winner has to roll a morale check. The loser has to make a morale check. If the loser passes and the winner fails, the winner will back up. Well, let's back it up and just say whoever fails will back up, because both of them might fail. So you charge in, smack, and then everybody gets casualties, everybody makes a morale check, both of you back up, or one of you backs up, or the other backs up. If you both pass, which is also a possibility, then you remain in contact for the next turn. So there is that possibility. And cavalry can never remain in contact. So if they fail, they bounce back. If they succeed and their opponent fails, they can push forward. If they both fail, they both bounce. If they both succeed, then I don't remember what I put down. I'm not sure if I said if they both succeed. Well, if it's infantry, it'll remain stationary. And if it's cavalry, it's going to bounce. That's pretty sure. But if there's two cavalry and they both succeed, I think they both bounce still. So that's one way to dislodge cavalry from a specific spot, is to get up there and succeed. Because if they fail, you already know they're bouncing back. And if you both succeed, you know, you're both bouncing back. Yeah, I think that's how I'm going to do it. I haven't got it exactly, you know, word for word, but you get the idea. Victory. When you destroy a battalion, they have to draw an army morale card. What the heck? I didn't do any of their hands. Look at that. What the hell is going on with this unit? Damn. That's why you double check. So the cards are going to have numbers probably 0 to 3, right? And when you kill a unit, they will draw a card. So technically, they could draw a 0. Or they could draw a 3, or anything in between. Zeros and 3s are going to be rare. 1s and 2s are going to be really popular in the deck. Probably 1s being the most popular. Probably. Or 1s and 2s can be the same. When you draw enough cards that total your army morale, the game is over. You'll lose the game. You just stop. You just announce it. I lose. You win. If you take an objective, like a town or a road intersection or whatever the objective is, a bridge, then your opponent has to draw a number of cards based on the value of that objective. Like if it's like a weak objective, maybe 1 card. If it's a really important objective, maybe 3 cards. And that just goes into their total because, you know, you took their bridge or whatever. Okay, I've already painted it, but I just want to give them an extra layer. Okay. I know they need flesh on the hands. Okay. Now, I got that card draw idea from Battle Group, right? Where you have an army battle rating and you draw cards based on unit loss, and once you get a total you lose and all that. And then if you guys run out of time, like you're playing in an afternoon and everybody's got to go home because it's midnight or whatever, then you just count up the cards and whoever has the most is the loser. And I guess based on that type of a victory, there might be a scale, like how much, like if I've got 19 and you've got 20, technically you did lose, but not really. It's kind of a draw. I would say there would have to be a certain number difference before it's a loss. It could also be if you have all the objectives, the other guy just automatically loses. That is a rule in Battle Group where if you hold all the objectives for a number of turns, the other side just automatically loses. Soldiers of Napoleon, written by the same individual, changed from a chit system where you're drawing little counters to a card system. And those cards have like multiple different values on them. Some are for your command, some are for special events, and then also there's a number for casualties. So use the same deck for all these different functions, which I think is pretty cool, but I think it overwhelms the deck. I think the deck doesn't need to have all those things coming out of one deck of cards. But it works just fine. It does work just fine for his game system. It's just not for me. I don't plan to do it that way. I'm just going to put numbers. Now, I might put some special events in there, like Battle Group does. You know, like airstrike or out of fuel or confusion and things like that. Which there is a lot of that kind of things that I can implement in my deck. So when you draw your battle rating card for when you lose a unit, it might be something good. It might be something bad, you know, that you have to play on your opponent. Or that you have to play on one of your own guys. You know, it might not be a number, it might be an action of some kind. Like confusion works, that just means that one of your units can't act. But, or one of your opponent units can't act. Yeah, I like that idea. And then there's not going to be airstrikes, obviously, but there can be artillery just coming from outside the map or something, just lands randomly, hits one of your allies, or maybe hits your enemy. There can be, you know, your messenger got misplaced or went to the wrong place or something. Who knows? I'm going to touch this while I'm still thinking about it. Right, so you got objectives and you got battalions. Officers, right? I took this rule from Soldiers of Napoleon. He says that if you lose every battalion in a brigade, then the brigade commander is killed or defeated or runs off or whatever. And that counts as drawing a card as well. So if you get a 4-battalion brigade and you kill all 4 of those battalions, you would technically be drawing 5 cards. 1 for each battalion and then 1 for the brigade commander. To be activated, a battalion has to be within his brigade commander's command range, which is low, around 6 inches, maybe even smaller, maybe 4 inches. And the okay, I lied. That's not exactly true. In my rules, command is given up to 2 levels difference. So a division commander can issue orders to a battalion. But the battalion can still only activate when his brigade commander is activated, even if he's in range of the division general. It just means that that battalion has a little bit more flexibility. He can be away from his brigade commander, and as long as he's still within the division commander's range, when the brigade commander is activated, he can still act. Hopefully you understand that. There is a chain of command from the corps commander all the way down to your battalions. The brigade commander is in command if he's within his division or corps range. Remember? 2 levels. The division is in command if the division commander is within corps or army or wing or whatever's on the table. And that's as high as it's going. I'm not going any higher than an army. But I'm going to try to focus on corps. All right. Okay, so I got all of the chocolate. Nice. Okay, let me do a little thing here. Uniforms. Wow. Noise. Okay. What am I looking at? Looking at the wrong thing. Okay, let's look over here. There we go. Brunswick. I'm going to take these glasses off. Let's put these glasses on. And let's see if it shows a haversack at all. Which is pretty much the Vanguard. I don't see a haversack anywhere. I see an ammo bag. Okay, so these would be the horse limber guys. Okay, but I still don't see a bag. That's foot, actually. And horse has the same color, dark conductors. Okay. That's not the bag I'm talking about. I don't think they show it. Okay. Get out my research here. Okay, so that's all of these guys. French. Infantry, light infantry, heavy infantry. Cavalry. Chasseurs, grenadiers, dragoons, hussars. Artillery, pioneers, the Fenians. Okay, now we go. Bayern, Württemberg. Oops. Big army, okay. Hesse and Darmstadt. Westphalia. Mecklenburg. Schwarzburg. Nassau. Baden. Saxons. Oldenburg, Rus, Anhalt. Swiss. Danish. Italians. I don't think they got Brunswick in there, actually. Prussians. And then there's the English. The British Army. Pioneers, artillery, King's German Legion, getting closer. The Spanish, I think that's it. Yeah, and then it goes to, what? No. The Russians and the Swedish, the Austrians, Dutch Belgians, and then that's it. So they don't have anything about Brunswick in here. Wow. Next. Okay. He looks like he's Brunswick, but let's double check. Spain, Portugal, Italy, Warsaw, Württemberg, Westphalia, Bavaria, Denmark, Sweden, even the U.S. Then you got Prussia, Russia, Austria, Great Britain. Oh, Brunswickers, 110. You actually have the word Brunswick, so that's a good sign. Okay, here we go. Okay, looking at that satchel around his back, it looks black. Blackish. Right there. Okay, let's read what it says. Uniform worn at Waterloo. Corsican hat was a favorite. Brunswickers were quite young and inexperienced, fought well at Quatre Bras. Their Duke was killed at Waterloo. The Black Brunswickers. Brunswick equipment. There was a regiment of 3 battalions of infantry and a company of riflemen, battery horse artillery, infantry and artillery in all black, including buttons, lace, were okay. The Jaegers wore yep, the Shakos, the Lancers, the Ulan Greens. Said they were equipped by Austria. Okay. I'm going to go to Austria. That's Hungarians, that's Austrians. Kind of take a look at their bags as well. Yeah, I don't see any for them. Okay, well, I'm going to do a dark gray. Yep. Digby Smith coming through with the Brunswick. Coming through with the bag color. Yeah, that series of books, I got the American War of Independence one. Boy, it was a really good resource. Okay. Alright guys, it's after 1 o'clock. That's normally where I call it. So what I'm going to do is... Whoa, wait, we got a chat here. What'd you say? Probably just hello. Hey, John. Thanks, man. Yeah, I should get these finished by today, hopefully. And then maybe in the next day or two, show them off. Almost 200 Brunswickers right here. We got the Avant-Garde, the Liebgarde, 3 light battalions, 3 line battalions. Yeah, so I'm just gonna turn the cameras off. I'm gonna dive into painting these, finishing them up, and then I'll show them off later. Hopefully in the next day or two. If you're interested in a D&D campaign, we're playing that at 7 o'clock tonight. Alright, I will catch you in the next one.